Hey guys, welcome to Currently Cringing. Hello, best friend of the show, basically co-host Aditya. Welcome.
Hello, I'm back from my vacation in Paris, family
Before
vacation.
we before we get into Paris, I got so much shit from our friends, your relatives. God bless your sister, love her, she's a queen, for posting our previous YouTube video from the podcast episode because of your angle. Little does everyone know, I told you I wanted to record and you didn't care about the angle. And so today we did a little shifting. So that wasn't your best angle, and today this is you.
Yeah, I think the problem is I usually pod from this one chair when we didn't have video, and at times the angle was okay, but I'm doing this on an iPhone and my laptop Zoom stopped working, whatever. Now I've moved to a different spot where I look normal.
You look normal. The other video is not a representation of what you look like. But in my opinion, I've always said personality, you're a 15 out of 10 and you have a great face and a dad bod. That's what most girls want.
I try, you know. For once we're not going to talk about dating. We'll save that for a future pod.
We'll save that for a future pod, but you did ask me, you are going on a date and you asked me about your hair, and I prefer your hair longer, like this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I always feel like it's better short, but apparently you like it longer. But I don't know. It's up to you. I think I'll listen to you and see how it goes.
But everyone has seen, those who know have seen what I've done to my husband's hair. So I'm a proponent of long hair.
And facial hair. I don't like facial hair because I get very itchy. It doesn't work for me. But yeah. But
Well,
anyways, I was at the Olympics with my sister, brother-in-law, parents, and nephew. So that was fun.
and what an iconic trip. I mean, I had FOMO. I wanted to be at the Olympics, and your mom is a queen, and she had booked the most fabulous restaurants in Paris. I mean, the food pictures your sister was posting, 10 out of 10. But of course, it's a family trip, an Indian family trip. So, we all know, if you listen to the pod, what happened in South Africa, what happens on my family holidays and trips. There's always a fight.
We had a trip to South Africa for safari last year. The year before, we went to Winnipeg for an Arctic safari, and there's probably one other family trip I'm forgetting. Every single one of these trips is a little too long, and halfway through the trip, usually around day 5 or day 6, is a huge fight. And without fail, it happened again. And it's always like fine the next day or the 2 days after that. And like the last night of the trip is all, rosy and everyone's taking photos and whatever. But like, and that's the stuff you see on Instagram. But, you're missing that day 5, like blow up where like I literally stopped the car, got out and left and skipped dinner. And and if I hadn't done that, it would have been a horrible dinner. And I heard it wasn't a great dinner without me. But I was just like, I can't do this. I'll see you tomorrow.
We are the glue that keeps, things together, even though we're also part of the conflict. But I'd say in your case, it's like you have a white brother-in-law,
Hmm.
Caucasian
Yeah.
brother-in-law. What does he think of this? Because I always tell the chat and I tell my parents, my family, we're always like, we just want to have a normal, like, white person vacation where there's no drama. That's all.
Like I even talked about how like it's fun to explore and stuff, but we have two older boomer parents. Like my mom has some knee issues. She's 65. My dad's 70, who's great shape for his age, but he's still a little bit older. And then we have my sister who's a new mom. We have a baby, and it's like I don't know if like we should be doing the same stuff as before. Maybe we should be doing the traditional white person beach vacation or the resort. And it's like you know, I feel like my white friends, what they do is like everyone wakes up whenever they feel like it. You kind of casually meet at brunch. The day is yours. You spend at the beach, the pool, do whatever the hell you want. Water sports, read by the pool, sleep, and then dinner. Everyone meets at dinner. But this, we had like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and Olympic events to go to. And I know like I'm complaining, but like it's fun, but it's also a lot. Like in a small, in the same hotel, you're on the same floor, you have multiple generations,
There's a baby.
different there's a baby. Like honestly, the baby was like the least of the problems. Like I love my nephew; he's a gem,
He's the best.
and I think I really bonded with him this trip because before the trip, I could only kind of hold him for, a minute or two before he freaked out. And on the way back, my sister had to go to LA. So me and my brother-in-law had the baby. So we kind of like passed the baby back and forth. And he was kind of chill with me after all. He's like, oh, okay, you seem like you're a good guy.
Well, I mean, not the baby, but I just mean there's a lot going on, right? It's boomer parents and then the Olympics and all these activities and moving from location to location with a
It's
baby. It's
just,
just a lot.
I have a friend in events who said whenever she like plans trips for friends or even for work, you want to have max 3 events in a day, which includes meals, right? And you need downtime. So we had on this trip 3 meals and an Olympic event and car rides. It's too much for one day. For 9 or 10 days, it's a lot. And then we also went from Paris to Marseille on the train for a 2 day trip, basically, just see one Olympic event, which is soccer, which was great. Marseille is a beautiful city, but it's also like it's a lot, even for a baby. Like the baby, his whole routine's already been changed as it is to go to a different country, and then as he's settling into the Paris room, oh, we're getting on a train, we're going to Marseille. It's a lot of things happen.
How were the games? I mean, we discussed the games, but tell the listeners, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a once in a lifetime trip.
yeah. You say once in a lifetime, but like my parents are insane and like they want to do stuff as much as possible because they're older. But I
Once
will
in a
say that
lifetime for
it'll
most people.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess honestly, the next Olympics is LA, so it'll never be like that. So I guess being in Paris. So first of all, Paris was kind of empty, and I experienced this in 2012 in London because I lived in London, and I've never seen the London Tube, which is the subway. I've never seen it so empty. I've never seen the city so empty. Like the areas of the Olympics were crowded, but otherwise it wasn't. The exact same thing happened in Paris, where like I had friends in Paris, all of them were gone, and the people I met in Paris were like other friends from Asia or the US who were visiting for the Olympics as well. But no locals seemed to be there. And the games themselves were, I mean, it's funny because like everyone's watching the Olympics. You guys were watching on NBC or whatever, Peacock. I I was there watching stuff live, so I missed a lot of the actual events that were happening, right? Except the ones I was at. So like I had to like catch up on memes and the Turkish shooter guy and the Australian breakdancing chick, like all that stuff. Like I think I found out about that after I got back to the US, which was like the penultimate day of the Olympics.
Yeah, because you're actually at the games, and so you can't watch everything all at once.
Yeah, it's a lot. And like, for those who don't know, like gymnastics is probably the hardest thing to get. So we couldn't get those tickets. That's like Simone Biles. And then after that, swimming is probably the toughest ticket. We got one swimming event, which in my opinion is the best thing to watch for the Olympics.
Agree.
And that was our first day. And then I'd say track and field, mixed feelings just because obviously the women's track and field team is incredible, and the U.S. women are unreal. The runners, they're all beautiful, smart, athletic. They're like so talented. One of them, Gabby Thomas, like she went to Harvard and like has a master's.
Yeah.
Like these are like incredible women, and like the women carry the men for the U.S. Like America finished tied on 40 medals with China, and it's like 60 something percent of those medals were women, which I mean that kind of delves into what we're going to talk about later. But go American women, like they saved the day.
Absolutely. And we're very proud to be American and watch, America thrive and succeed. And did you,
But like kind of going back to the track and field, like it's so interesting because you'll watch for 3 4 hours and there's like 7 things happening at once. Like someone's like long jumping on the side, someone else is throwing a bunch of hammers, someone's like, you know, doing a long jump. Like there's all these things happening, and then in every 30 minutes you'll have someone running the hurdles, but it's like a semifinal heat, and then you have the 400-meter dash final, right? So there's a lot of things happening at the same time, and it's tough to keep your attention span, but it's great. And like I got to see a bunch of Americans win medals, and it was fun. And like I said, the women runners did us proud. So yeah.
so what were all the events you were able to attend?
So as we did 3 or 4 track and field events, which included javelin and long jump, uh, various running events, hurdles, steeplechase, which is really interesting. You should look that up. And then otherwise, the track and field, we saw one day of just swimming. There was a relay. We went to Marseille to see soccer, the semifinal game between Morocco and Spain, and then boxing, which was okay, I thought, and then taekwondo, which like we thought would be cool, but it was not the best spectator sport. But all in all, it was great, and I think that's everything we saw. But I think I've seen enough track and field live for a lifetime.
Yeah. No, I think we really appreciate this because I don't know anyone that's been to the Olympics. So it's cool to have a friend that's there. And we were discussing the live events and what you were at and the scores. But we were also talking about our Indian brown genetics and how we have the second largest population in the world, but not a lot of gold medals.
Well, we had one of the track and field events was javelin. We like had that locked up. Like we had the number one men's javelin thrower uh, from the previous Olympics, defending gold medalist, and he lost to a Pakistani guy. But what's funny is they're actually like really good friends. So we're like here to respect everyone's country, whatever. Like these guys are boys. Like when the India guy lost, he's like, no, that guy's my brother. Like I'm really happy for him. I won last time. He won this time, and like he deserved it. And the Pakistani guy basically like broke an Olympic records, and then it was like way ahead. So, and then looking at his body type, we were like, this guy looks like one of our like uncles from us growing up, and like he can throw a javelin like 92 meters. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't like muscular or anything. He wasn't like athletic looking.
No, but that's probably our best chance. That like we always do rifle shooting stuff. We got a couple bronzes in that, and then there was the story of the Olympic, the female wrestler
Yeah.
was Indian. That was
She
really sad.
she was disqualified because of her weight was off by a few ounces. I mean, they're really strict.
It was like 100 grams, and she won the semifinal to get to the final, and then she couldn't make weight. Like she apparently like lost 3 kilos to try to make weight, and it still wasn't enough. She was like sweating, and she cut her hair and whatever, and she still couldn't make the weight. And I'm just like, damn, that's so brutal. And not only that, like she had to give up the silver and bronze. Like the girl she beat, I think got the silver, which is like insane to me, right?
Yeah.
I thought she should have at least been given the silver. So I think they're disputing that as well. But those were our two best chances, or India's two best chances of a gold. And then I think like the field hockey team got a bronze. So like yeah, there was, or maybe they lost the bronze medal. Either way, we had some chances. We as in India, and we came up short because of our crappy non-Olympic genetics.
Yeah, we fight about this all the time with our non-Indian friends. They're like, you could just go to the gym and get shredded. And, this past weekend I was at a wedding with my husband's cousin, and there happened to be a weightlifting muscle bodybuilding championship in the convention center in the hotel at the Westin, actually in Dallas. And the promoter happened to be Indian.
All I'm gonna say is the best like Olympian South Asian in the world, who's Pakistani, same sort of genetics as Indian. That guy does not look like he's in good shape. He looks like, he looks fine. I'm sure he's a healthy man, but he is not, the peak athleticism. Most of my friends are in better shape than him. That's all I'm saying. So if that's peak South Asian athleticism, we're kind of, that's what it takes to be an Olympian. We're up against it. We don't have a chance against these Kenyan runners and the Jamaican hurdlers. And
We
come on,
can't keep up. We can't.
like no chance.
No chance.
Do we want to say like the Ambanis mentioned that they want to host the next or one of the next Olympics, and they want to invest money in India, um, in India's like training, because they've been in the news lately because their second son just got married, pre-married, whatever. There were like 80 events, so and maybe the money they're spending there, the future money they're not going to spend investing in Olympic athletes. That's kind of the thought.
They want India to host the 2036 Olympics, I believe. That's their goal.
Yeah, I think not even in Bombay or Delhi, which is great. I mean, that would be a terrible idea. I think they said Ahmedabad or one of the smaller cities, which are still pretty big, but
Good.
you need the infrastructure to host the Olympics. So you need the stadiums, like, you got to build stuff. Like all they have is a bunch of cricket grounds. So like, cool, but you need
Right.
more than that.
And, good lodging because we all know the lodging disaster for the athletes in Paris, the
Yep.
bad food. So
And safety,
it's a big undertaking, yeah, and safety.
which is kind of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we were not planning on talking about this, so this is impromptu, but we were going to discuss this on the podcast next week, but there's a lot of pressure to talk about it right away. Now, there was a gruesome gang rape in Calcutta, in India. This is a common occurrence, unfortunately, and this is not something I personally can read about because it traumatizes me. It really sickens me, and I know it's very selfish, but I can't sleep or eat for days, and then I think about these women and what happened to them for years on end. I'm still traumatized from the other gang rapes I've read about, and I really mean that. Like they still haunt me, and so I don't want to read about this case, but if you can stomach that stuff and it doesn't haunt you and you're not going to be traumatized, then, you know, read about it.
This today is because today is Indian Independence Day, August 15th, the day we're recording. So people aren't feeling very proud or patriotic because of this type of stuff in the news and saying, why can't we protect our women? Why is this stuff happening? Which is fair.
Absolutely fair. And we had this conversation on our own earlier today. You're a man, you spend a lot of time in India. I was born in India. I've spent a lot of time there, but you go there a lot for work. Why do you think this is happening? And when people say, oh, rape capital, it's a statistic, but people can defend it and say that it's because of the large population. But this isn't happening in China. This isn't happening in other places where there's a lot of people.
Well, I think let's start with the China comparison. China is like a communist dictatorship, basically, right? So if you step out of line there, like you'll get thrashed and just never seen again, right? Like that's kind of the end of you. I think they view things a little differently when it comes to, this type of behavior. Whereas in India, I feel like there's this still very like misogynistic way of life. Maybe not among certain classes or whatever, but I think that it's an education problem. People don't realize that it's wrong to do these things. I think that it starts from childhood. Like a man's father should teach them at a certain age, very young, that women are to be respected and about, consensuality and, what is allowed and what shouldn't be allowed. And I think that's where it starts from parents. And, a lot of people will blame the mothers. I think it's the fathers. Like it's a father's job to be like, this is the way I treat your mom. You see your parents, you see the way your father treats your mother. And then that's how you kind of emulate. And that's the way that all my Indian friends in Bombay, guys, they've all acted normally with women. And that's because they had, they saw that, whether it's an uncle or father. So that's where it starts. And I feel a lot of people don't see that. And that's the systemic problem. So that's the first thing.
And then the suppression, the
Yes. Yeah. The next problem I would say is that sex is so taboo in India. And you can't really say that sex is bad, no one's allowed to have it. Because unfortunately there are urges, people will have that. And without the education, without seeing what's right and wrong, and without, even the India, I think, banned certain pornography sites, which that's an outlet, right, for young men. And I think there are a lot of frustrated men out there. And that's not to say what they're doing is right. Of course it's not right. But it kind of all adds to it. And I think it's important to have free flowing, important conversations about sex. We're privileged in America. We talk about it in school starting from sixth grade, whether you're in an all boys, all girls, or co ed school, about what's right and what's wrong. That education doesn't seem to happen in India. And, they don't really have other ways to feel fulfilled. So they take things into their own hand. That's sort of my theory.
And this is happening all over the world, but it is happening more so in India, gang rape. And that's even with underreporting sexual violence because it is a patriarchal society. So the men are in control. They're not even reporting half the crimes that are happening to women.
Yeah. And I also think like before you could kind of say hey, like sex is bad, only have sex if you're married. That kind of made sense back in the day where people were getting married in their teen years, a couple of teenagers marrying each other. Now, as we always say, people get married older and older. I don't know the age of all these rapes happening, but you people are in their 20s and 30s and long repressed, and they maybe they're not finding people and they have no outlet, and that's what's happening, and they're also not educated, so it's terrible what's happening. And I think the country needs to do a better job of educating and not suppressing, and they're doing everyone a disservice.
It's not a one person job for sure. I think the government has to get involved and there needs to be some strict legal framework and consequence for these crimes. That's the other issue. There is corruption,
I
whether
mean,
it's the same or not.
if it was up to me, if it was up to me, with the death penalty. But that's me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and a lot of people aren't going to like that take. But at this point in the game, for anyone to take this seriously, there needs to be some sort of severe punishment. And the other issue is the corruption. A lot of people get away with a lot of things by paying people off there. No one wants to hear it.
Yep.
And they talk about wanting to be a superpower and becoming a superpower by 2037, I believe. I can't take you seriously if women aren't safe in your country.
India is doing great things in business. It's a great place to invest right now, I will say. But I do think this is a huge problem, this safety. And I don't know how you could talk about hosting the Olympics there when you know, no one feels safe. And I get it. No one feels safe anywhere these days, but it seems particularly bad in India.
Yeah, because 99% I'm here in America sitting cushy in my nice condo and you're in your nice condo. We're talking to each other. We can step outside right now and the likelihood of something happening to us is extremely low. If I was in India, no one would let me go out alone.
No, you would need like a car and driver and at least one male escort friend or something.
Something.
Yeah.
So maybe,
Or you're only going to five-star hotels.
yeah,
Taj, Oberoi.
and that's not realistic.
Yeah.
They want to increase tourism. This isn't going to help. And I think, and we discussed this, I'm all for progress. And I love what the Ambanis are doing for the country. But you want to increase tourism. You want people to feel safe. You want people to come and enjoy India. And India is a beautiful country. There's a lot to do there and a lot of beautiful things to see. But maybe promoting big weddings and Bollywood and the stars isn't the priority. Shouldn't be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, hopefully now that that wedding is over, everyone can kind of focus on more important things. And I don't know if the Olympics are that. I think safety is, obviously you have, a lot of poverty and food insecurity and all that stuff. But yeah, women's health, women's safety, women's rights. I think we really have it good in America. Like everyone complains about America and abortion and everything, and it's like I don't think people realize how good we have it or how good women have it here compared to other places.
Absolutely. We're very, very lucky. I'm so blessed to be here. And I was born in India. So the chances of me coming here would have been like, I could have been in India and I would have had a good life there. But this girl, I don't even want to say what happened to her. She was a doctor in training, she wasn't some random
Yeah,
person just walking the street or something like she had a bright future.
I mean, if this girl was my relative, sister, whatever, I would probably go to jail for murdering all those guys.
Absolutely. Same. And I have a India trip coming up and my mom's probably going to come with me and it's like I've been all over the world. I've said this and I don't feel safe going to my own country alone and that's sad. And a lot of people aren't going to like this podcast because everyone's talking about how we should talk good of India. And I'm with you. But this is what the world is seeing.
Yeah, it's not good, and I hope things change. I'm trying to remember if it was like this when I was a kid, but we were kind of shielded from all this when we were younger, right? So
I think it was underreported. I don't think it's a new occurrence. I think now it's just we've got social media and news and TV and so many outlets where people can share what's happening. This was probably happening. I think it's
yeah,
talking about sex. We need sex education. We need to allow people to maybe have some outlets, watch
I
porn.
think the idea that sex is bad and premarital sex is bad, now you're just it's so ridiculous because then you're saying every sex is bad. So then maybe these people are thinking, oh, non-consensual sex is bad, all sex is bad, blah blah blah. They don't really get it. They're uneducated, right? They just do whatever. But you need to demarcate types of sex: consensual, non-sexual, pre-marriage, whatever. Maybe there's, foreplay or whatever. I don't think there's an education. People just act without thinking, and the you know it can't be seen as taboo. You can say, if you love someone or your relationship, consensual sex is a very beautiful thing, but there needs to be a demarcation.
And we grew up in this culture where we were told you're not allowed to touch anyone, kiss anyone, all of it's bad. We didn't talk about any of this. It's changing now with the younger generation.
Which,
But
by the way, is insane because we wrote the book on sex. Like, where did it go wrong?
the Kama Sutra, literally. But we also are so segregated, like in India, right? Like here, I'm talking to you on a podcast. I can go out to you with you for lunch and it's all good. I can't do that in India without someone thinking something bad. It's like a girl's reputation, like all of this, men and women are separated in most settings.
Yeah, if I even just go for a coffee or drinks with someone in India in a very, very nice place, restaurant, whatever, someone will see it and start talking, and it's like, dude, I'm just like having a drink. I'm catching up with a friend or I'm meeting a friend of a friend. Maybe it's just an introduction, but it's not like a date. It's not like we're seeing each other. And so whenever my mom's like, "Oh, you should date someone in Bombay," I'm like, I don't think I want to, because then people start talking. Whereas like in New York or San Francisco, LA, whatever, you can just date. You guys, Philly, Dallas, you dated wherever, and no one's like watching you like a hawk.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of suppression going on, a lot of aggression and rage, clearly, and education about women. Women are equal. And we talked about earlier stories that have happened in India, like my mom, when she's dealing with selling her property there and the guy doesn't want to talk to her because she's a woman. Meanwhile, it's her apartment and it's her money. It's like things like that they're just times need to change. And it all comes down to education.
Yep, I agree. And it starts at home with your father, parents teaching you. Then it goes to the schools, and then by the time you're an adult or a young man, this stuff has been battered into your head. Like I was just taught a certain way of life by my teachers and my parents and my role models, and I don't think these people have that.
Yeah, and then of course the legal framework and corruption and just doing things the right way and having real consequences.
And I think in America, being a rapist or like a pedophile is it's not just the consequences of being locked up. It's when you're in jail, the hardened murderers will think so lowly of you and beat the crap out of you. Like there's people know if you're marked as a rapist or one of these things in America, your life is over. You might as well get you won't get the death penalty. You might as well. You go into prison, you're done. Like you're getting shivs on the first day. That's just the
Absolutely.
reality.
All we can say is really help we're I feel useless, but rest in peace. And it's sickening and disgusting this young woman who had her whole life ahead of her had to suffer this way. And it starts at the home and then at the top with the government.
Yep, I agree.
I appreciate you coming
But
on to do this. It's a last minute
hopefully
podcast.
more cheerful topics next time.
Yeah, we don't want to just, blow this over, but it's like, what do you say? There's real issues that need to be solved.
The the thing is that stuff is the top 1%, right? Like the cricket, the Bollywood, the weddings, all that stuff is the top 1%. But this is what's happening in the seedy underbelly, fortunately, and the poverty, right? Poverty is also a big part of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.